All right. Good morning, everybody. Hope you guys are having a great day. Welcome to today's edition of the Daily Market Commentary. I'm your host, Chuck Fulkerson. We are live and ready to roll. Let's keep our fingers crossed that it stays that way today, because yesterday we logged on and our live stream cut off right away. So glad you're able to make it back for us today. We're going to do what we do each and every day, looking at our futures markets from an educational perspective to see what's happening out there today. And we've got our, the inauguration day. So, the whole market's been chopping sideways for the last few weeks. Ever since the first couple of days of January, we've chopped fairly sideways, which has seen our overall momentum slow. I wouldn't be surprised to see us break above some of the highs today over the course of this week, and then get one more gas up. So let's see if we get that kind of move higher. So if you guys would do me a favor, if you're so inclined, throw a little thumbs up. That would mean a big deal. I'd appreciate that. That would be awesome. And then we'll get rolling. And if you're not a regular viewer, welcome. Glad you're here to join us. And please consider subscribing. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. Shrink my face. All right, let's start with the ES. Well, before I start with the ES, let's just look at the general shape of all four of these markets. And I'm going to go to a 4-hour chart, 4-hour chart, 4-hour, 4-hour. So now we got 4-hour charts, and we're looking essentially from the beginning of the year to now on all these markets. Let me just zoom in on them all. Okay, so essentially this is basically from the beginning of the year until now in all four of these main markets. Now, why did I do that? Well, because I wanted to be able to see very high level the differences in the shapes of these markets, right? We can see that the NQ peaked earlier this year, like on the 10th, it looks like, and has not overcome that peak. Same thing with the S&P. We peaked earlier in the year, have not overcome that peak. The Russell actually peaked a few days later, like the 16th, and has actually overcome the peak that it had on that same date of the NASDAQ and the S&P's peak. The Dow as well peaked on that same date, and then has come back and just about retouched that level. And so when I look at this, it's pretty clear to see that over the last few days, the NASDAQ has been running the fastest up, because this circle, oops, wrong drawing tool. Because this area here is the same as this area here in the S&P. Now, that means that we have eclipsed that area in the NASDAQ, and we have not yet eclipsed it in the S&P. Same thing with the Dow. It has not yet been eclipsed, that same area. Now, I look at that because I also like to see when were certain levels formed, like at what time, and how have we changed since that formation of the level. And the NASDAQ has gone higher. Now, interestingly enough, the Russell has also not yet eclipsed that peak, although getting much closer than the other markets. So when I'm thinking bullish opportunities, we're thinking Russell number 1, NASDAQ number 2, and then the S&P, and then the Dow. So let me just ask, those of you that have sat in on any of my classes or heard me talk about it, when you have the Russell, then the NASDAQ, then the S&P, then the Dow, what do you have? I agree, Dennis. I kind of wish that Thinkorswim would allow us to do that as well. That is really what we're seeing here, is that the Russell is the leader, followed by the NASDAQ, followed by the S&P, followed by the Dow. Now, I could switch to a chart that's more percentage-based driven, so we could see the actual numbers, but we can actually just see the general shape. So when I'm looking for potential breakout trades, and we talk about what are my potential breakouts, this family that's moving in its trend, yeah, it's going to continue that sense of normalcy. The NASDAQ, we did have a breakout line in here, and if you got into this last night, I wouldn't be mad at you. It was not a great time of the day to enter a position towards the end of the day. but we did get a little bit of basing. So if you took that breakout, great. You actually got a very strong run in the overnights. I would say if you missed it, then don't feel like you were like you missed out. Feel like you were having dinner probably, because that's about what time that happened. So in looking at this, as I look at where are some chances for a reversal, my eyes would immediately come to here normally. But looking at that, a couple of things. First of all, my angle at which we left the level was not the strongest. It's okay. It's right at a 45-degree angle, which from a scoring standpoint, I want something more in the realm between 90 and 68 degrees when price leaves the level. And believe it or not, there is a difference. I want one that's between 90 and 68 degrees. And the reason for that is because when something moves away from a level at that speed, somewhere in there, it would be our strongest move. It would score a 2. In here it would score a 1, and below here would score a 0. So based on probability scoring, this is not a very strong move away, right? It's between a 1 and a 0, frankly. And it's a retest of what I think was better right there at the London Open. So as much as I like the time of the day that it's formed and, we want to try to get in, it just doesn't have enough kick for me. Good question on where would the stop go. So if you took that breakout trade, where would your stop go on that? Let me see if I can't bring it back. So by definition, if you took that breakout trade in that position, the absolute tightest your stop could be would be under here, right? Because you break out right there, and your stop would be under here, which would be your closest pivot. That would be the tightest your stop could be, would be right up under here, Larry. Because stops always go outside of the pivot on the entry time frame. And if you took the entry time frames at a 15, that's where your stop would be. And that's what I oftentimes would tell, and even on the hourly chart, it's probably going to be the same number. It's going to be up underneath here. So now, that might have been too far away for your risk tolerance, and that's okay too. So while I like the NASDAQ as our strongest market, when I look at this on an hourly chart, I don't have a super clean area of demand from which to lean on. You got stopped out on the big green candle? So typically when someone if you get stopped out on that big green candle, the thing that I would say is that you probably entered the breakout here. Right, where we had the line up here yesterday, and if you entered the breakout on this green one here, then yeah, I can see where that stop out would be, because you put your stop below here as the pivot. That's probably what happened. So the problem with having a breakout there is that we don't have the same three touches that we have over here to the left. All right. Oops. So looking at this on the hourly chart, obviously we've got a breakout above the all-time high, provided we get basing. Now remember, I don't have 3 touches. I would only have 2. Because remember, I got to have 3 touches for a clean quality breakout. So I will say on the hourly chart, if we come down to the origin of yesterday's breakout, you may get a decent move, and it's a whole round number support. Next, look at the Russell. So the Russell is actually the better one for the breakout above the high. Although if you're more aggressive, you can take it right here. Now, my only downside with taking it here is that this might set up for a bit of a Globex trap with this little level right here. So if you take it here, just understand that Globex trap is in play. I don't know that I would short on that Globex trap. Okay, I don't know that I would take a short on that position. So it's strong enough to scare me about this long, but not strong enough for me to be willing to go short, because, I mean, we're that close to the all-time high, and it's not formed at a great time of the day. So, I'm okay if you want to be a bit more aggressive and take the breakout above here. I would do it on a 15-minute time period so that your pivot will be a bit closer and you'll get a little bit of a better risk picture. But ultimately, obviously, your better break is going to be up here. If we come down a little bit, you have this level here, but this level here has to be a confirmation entry. Why? Well, because of the wick right there. So the wick right here totally changes the quality of this trade from a limit entry to a confirmation entry. And it's even not so much that the wick is there, it's really the depth to which the wick entered that zone. All right, S&P, we have this level down in here, which is probably kind of your best one, little rally base. Very nice rally, not yet been touched as of yet. And that's the level that I looked at yesterday, and I'm still going to leave that as the best level. When I look down below me to these areas of demand, they're all kind of retests of one another. Coming up to some supply, but we're meandering into the supply, so it could get a little pullback, and I just don't really have a great reversal level on there. And then the Dow came really close to a fill right in here off a confirmation long, without getting actually into the trade. And so technically that level's still valid because we came into it and didn't get touched, and so still the confirmation is in play. But I'm not jumping up and down about it at the moment because I don't feel like we're going to get there today. All right, so those are our equity markets. Any questions on equity markets today? Let me share this grid to the trade feed. So this will be located in the trade update page. And I don't know if you guys saw, Justin posted 2 nat gas trades today to the trade workshop. Crude oil. So crude oil came into our supply area in the overnight as we had this little base drop as a potential entry. We based in front of the level. Well, if you said, I don't care about basing, I'm going to take it anyway. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Right now, your stop should be at break even. If you say, well, I don't like the 6 candle rule, well, then just be okay losing money. First of all, the basing before the level told you not to get in. Second of all, the 6 candle rule's coming into play. So even if we do pull back, technically you shouldn't be in the trade, as it is not making its move off of that level like we thought that it could. Now, on a pullback, we have a couple of areas worth looking at. I normally would look at an area like this, right, where we had this big wick up and then price moved down and then we went sideways. That's going to be the first one I look at. But if I try to do a wick over wick, technically I'd have to wrap it around both of those wicks. So I need to go to a 15-minute chart and see if on the 15-minute chart there's something a bit cleaner. And so when I come down to the 15-minute chart, you could utilize this area here for the reversal. I mean, obviously your stop would go down below this lower pivot. And then the question then becomes, is this a retest of this lower pivot over here to the left? It didn't quite trade into the levels, so you know that we didn't touch those orders, and thus still valid. So if we do pull back down, I think that this one makes the most sense. Now it's still a fairly wide zone. Even on a 15-minute chart, that's a nearly a 20 tick zone. And so, you know, if that's too rich for your blood, then potentially, you know, go down and do the micro contract, or just hold off, or do a call option in lieu of that position. From a breakout perspective, you do have a breakout perspective that could set up in here, provided that we get some quality basing. I mean, there's nothing that says that oil, you know, is gonna give us a deep pullback. We could get a pullback, and frankly, I wouldn't be surprised to see a bit of a pullback. I'm going to remove this hourly level here for now, because I think if we do pull back, we're going to pull back right around 50. 50 is good, solid, whole round number support. And so if our daily chart does indeed pull back, and we pull back right into this 50 region, this is where you might set up a little bit of a swing trade. I'd even be a little bit more okay considering holding this one over the weekend if you are so inclined as to do so. Jasmine, yeah, could you please say one more time about the family relationship between the Russell, the Dow, the NASDAQ, and the S&P? Let me cover that at the end, Jasmine, because I want to try to get through everything, if that's okay. Gold. So looking here at gold, we have a sideways breakout area above 1864. We've got some demand area down below us. And, you know, in the overnight, we came into this area of supply and sold off. Might we get a reversal today? You know, this is a pretty clean little wick over wick area here that I think we could see a bit of a bounce off of. If I move that to a 15-minute, then you can see it pretty cleanly in there. Your stop would have to go below like around 1813 at the absolute tightest, because you got to go outside the wick of the leg-in candle on that small time frame. That's really the only thing that I see on here. I think the best is above this 1864. I think your breakout trade is actually the best trade. All right, nat gas. Like I said, I'm not going to cover nat gas today. We did have a little bit of a retest into this area of demand. So if anybody took that trade yesterday afternoon, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 candles later, it had gone nowhere. 7, 8, 9, 10 candles later is finally when it was back into the zone. So at the very least, you should have moved your stop to break even. So what's up, Mr. Billy? All right. So what I'm going to do now is remove that level completely. And like I said, check the trade feed for Justin's trade that was posted on nat gas. And then copper, we're just chopping sideways. Not a whole lot in here worth considering even in copper at the moment. All right, let me share this one out. All right. So real quick, I want to talk about commodities. But before I talk about commodities, I want to ask and I want to implore a little bit of help for those of you that are out there. So we do a trader summit every quarter, and every quarter I try to get guest speakers that are not part of tradersarmy.com to come out and teach something unique about what it is that they do. So here's what I'm going to ask you for. Everybody out there in cyberspace and in the world, leave a comment down below. Who would you like to see speak at our next trader summit? And really kind of tag them. And I'll throw it out on Twitter today as well. I really want to try to get some good speakers that you guys are going to be interested in hearing from. And for those of you that have come to these trader summits before, they are not a big pitch fest. We have nothing to sell. It is quite literally just an educational day. So if you can think of somebody that you'd want to come, if you've got a relationship with somebody that you could say, hey, I'm friends with so-and-so and I think I'd like her to speak, then, give me the warm intro, because I really have a difficult time sometimes even getting them to respond to me, because they are, some people think that I'm just trying to get them to pitch something, and that's not the case. So if you know anybody, let me know. All right? So, Ryan, Bob Dunn. I've had Ryan before, so we've had Ryan come in before. I've never had Bob Dunn. That's an interesting one. So, all right, I appreciate that. And I'll, Bill Henner, that's a good one. As much as I love some of those guys, I'll be honest, I do love those guys a lot. I would like to get out of the OTA space. If you know somebody outside of that has been a former Online Trading Academy instructor, it's great to get brand new perspective from somebody who's not a former OTA person. That to me is something, I think that sometimes we wind up. I want to get out of, I'll call it the echo chamber of a lot of the same voices that most of us have heard a lot, if that's what your background is. Because from what I can tell, a lot of people who listen, that's what their background is. And I would, considerably so. It was, my background as well. So if you know somebody, let me know. I'd appreciate it. But thanks for those ideas. Some of those we've never had in a trader summit before. I've never had Bill Henner or Bob Dunn in a trader summit. The other guys have already been in one, but not that I wouldn't have them back, because they're awesome dudes. All right, let's move on to agriculturals. All right. Oh, Liz, I forgot about Michelle. All right, soy. So talking soy, corn, and wheat. All of those have pulled back in the last few days. All of those have dropped pretty substantially here in the last couple of days as we pulled off of the resistance, and now the question is, are we coming back to some stronger area of demand or some support? Bean oil actually led the charge down as it started a few weeks ago, came into an area of demand and almost got filled and then didn't. So I normally would switch this to a confirmation, but I'm going to remove this altogether. I'm just going to completely remove it and look for a breakdown now below this line. Because we came into it and came close to it so many times, that area of demand is less probable of holding. And so I'm going to, give that a potential breakdown trade below this level. Looking at wheat, on our 4-hour trend, we can still see that we're in an uptrend, but boy, do we, it looks like we're almost setting up for the old Batman cowl setup, where we've got those two exact tops. So let's see if that continues to get weak. This is already a confirmation short. If this long gets broken, then I would consider a stronger breakdown. Walker, Texas Trader. I like that. All right. Yeah, I would consider a stronger breakdown if that gets broken. I am going to put this in for now, as I think that's a pretty good potential. But I've got to make it a confirmation because technically we're still in an upward trend. Corn, we're coming back. So we hit the area where we had done the limit move that day, and really no reaction off of it, which is to it. So yeah, 50% retracement on corn. Back to the 50% retracement of this big move. That's where we're stalling right now. Also look for candle to candle somewhere in this range, or the origin of the move is coming up. So that's also very prevalent. And then soy. So looking at soy, I love here. This would be a really nice move. Oh, you got the move down. Beautiful, Billy. Love that. Love that, Mr. Street. All right. So let me share this one. Let's move over to bonds and currencies. Numero uno. So I'm just going to hold off. Nothing happened in here for me to really lean on one way or the other. We could get a breakdown below here. Same thing with a breakout above ZB. Once again, I said this a couple of weeks ago. I think that the markets have decided to kind of go a bit sideways before the inauguration. I think that there's a bit of a stall. There's questions as to how's it going to go off today, and I don't know why, but I find it interesting that the market's just kind of gone sideways. By the way, I'm not saying one way or the other from a positive or negative standpoint. All I'm just saying is I find it interesting the markets have gone sideways. So with that being said, you see a lot of these breakouts and a lot of these trades. It might make sense to not trade, with a whole bunch of news. So, not make sense with a whole bunch of news. So I may take a little bit of a day down. I see Dennis. You know what, Dennis? I reached out to Joseph Burns a couple of summits ago. He said he does not ever have any interest in speaking. He said he's not interested. And then I've never heard of OnDemand Trader, so I'll reach out to them as well. So, and if you guys want to make a note to them as well to say, hey, would you come speak at a summit? Let me know, and I'll. I'm certainly going to ask them. But OnDemand Trader, I don't really know who that is, but I'll find out. But like I said, I want to try to get people that we're not as familiar with and see if they can bring some true value. One of the things I also think I'm going to do is try to find somebody who's very reliable in crypto. I've had a lot of people ask me about crypto lately, and I think it's something worth considering. So here is this hidden pivot in the there we go, Nick. Richard Dennis. That's actually not a bad idea. What I should do is find a way to communicate with Jesse Livermore. Just that's who I should try to figure out. Get him. Wouldn't that be awesome? All right, so on the euro, we have our 4-hour trend is most decidedly down and have not been able to come back and retest this area up above. And so I need to find a good reversal level above me where price can switch. And I think the best one is here. I saw Poltergeist. I know what's up. You invite a Ouija board, you invite in the demons. No, thank you. I ain't no my daughter is not having her head spin around. All right, so that would be a decent reversal right in here if price comes into that level. So Gary Rozak, I never heard of Gary Rozak. Peter, I'll look him up. And then the Canadian dollar, we are just in between our levels in the Canadian, and we just kind of been hovering between pretty decent zones without any strong move one way or the other. I think that you've got some supply here. This is the better demand. We're just nowhere near that level. Well, we'll see if Dwight makes it. We'll see Dwight's got a busy schedule. I mean, he's been asked to be, I think he told me he was asked to be the Minister of Magic recently. So, you know, when you're the Minister of Magic, you've got a busy life. All right, bonds and currencies, numero dos. All right, so New Zealand dollar. Not a whole lot, by the way, in currencies today. New Zealand dollar, we're still in between. I love this supply area. I think this is a really good one, and I'm going to keep this in place. And if price comes back to there, we could see a bit of a reversal. I just haven't seen it in a while. Oh, Bashir. I love Bashir. I met Bashir as a student. He was one of my former students in Dubai. So when I taught in Dubai, he flew over from Lebanon to take my class. Bashir is a good man. All right. 0.7174 by 0.7181. If we get a reversal back to here, I still think that's a good level. Not changing it. Great British Pound. So here we poked above in the overnight, but by poking above, we didn't destroy the validity of this zone. We didn't destroy the validity of this zone. This is we want some basing right in here. Oh, are you guys getting pauses on the internet? All right. I might, I don't know what to do about that, but I'll see if I can figure it out. Sorry about that. If we get basing here, we'll look for a breakout above this level. That would be still what we would want to see. You might get a retest into here. I'm sorry, there's buffering. I don't know what to do about it. It says I have excellent connection, and so sometimes I think it's YouTube. Sometimes YouTube they don't always agree with me. So let's see if we get a reversal off of this level. This would be a pretty clean area for a reversal. I don't want to see any more basing though in front of the level. If we get any more basing in front of the level, it'll be no good. Yeah, it could be it's the interwebs. Japanese yen, this supply level, I really liked it. Wick over wick, below a pivot high. Price came into the level 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 candles later, we had basically gone nowhere. So the level is still working, but your stop at this point should be at break even. So your stop right now should be at break even on this trade because we weren't really going anywhere and it's really, really wicky. So we can't take that again, but move your stop to break even. And then I've got nothing else to add on the Japanese yen today. Nothing. Niente, ningún, nada. And then on the Australian dollar, you know, this down here is fairly clean. I just don't know that we're coming back into that region today. Our 4 hours too sideways for me to really do much of anything on the Australian dollar. So I think there's a lot of better, more probable plays out there, and this one I'm going to be a little bit more conscious of. So, all right. So that's all I have for today. Once again, as always, you know, be cautious about what's happening in the markets, especially if there's major news events going on. You know, like a new president being inaugurated in the United States. I'm just saying. If there's anything that I can do, let me know. Oh yes. So when we look at the family, Jasmine, that we talked about, I always think of the Russell as like a kid, right? The Russell's the toddler, and the toddler sometimes is going to run this way or run that way. And when the toddler runs this way or runs that way, if he gets too far away, typically the toddler comes back to the family, right? And the Russell is our toddler. Well, the NASDAQ's like the 7-year-old. So if the toddler runs this way and then the 7-year-old follows, well, then mom is going to go next. And mom's the most important one in the family, right? And anybody who's married or has kids knows that. Mom rules. And then dad is going to just follow mom begrudgingly. Well, the Russell is the toddler, the NASDAQ's the 7-year-old, the S&P is mom, and the Dow is dad. So when I see a market that has strong continuation correlations, meaning that these markets are correlated to each other, and I think whatever direction it's going, it's going to continue to go that way, it's because the Russell's out in front, followed by the NASDAQ, followed by the S&P, followed by the Dow. Now, if we get a turn, if everything else is going up and the Russell starts going down, and then everything else still goes up, I think the Russell's actually just taking a little bit of a pause, and it's going to come up as well. But if everything's going up and the Russell goes down and then the NASDAQ goes down, then I can see the other two following suit, right? And what it comes down to is the underlying beta of the stocks that are inside of that group. So hopefully that makes sense. Dennis, if mom ain't happy, nobody's happy. And I would agree with that. So, all right, everybody. Well, that's all I have for today. Do me a favor. If you didn't already hit the thumbs up button, please do so. Share this out with others. We want to kind of spread the word, spread the love. If there's anything I can do for you, please. My strategy for today is Powerball. I got to tell you, I think everybody should play the Powerball today. I do. I believe that. You know why? Somebody say, oh, you're just throwing away your money. It's a reward to risk ratio, right? It's a reward to risk ratio. Go throw $10 on it. What's the worst that can happen? You lose $10. Now, if you're going to throw $10 on it and you don't really believe in that, throw $10 on it and donate $20 somewhere else. Make you feel better about yourself. But it's a reward to risk ratio. And if you win Powerball, if by me saying this you win Powerball, I don't ask for much. Just send me a bottle of bourbon. That's it. That's all I want. A bottle of scotch. And I'll be happy for you and send me a bottle of scotch. All right, everybody. That's all I got. Hope you guys have a great day. Well, Lee, I'm glad you made it in today. Make sure you stay in touch. Anything you need, let me know. All right. Talk to you soon.